Hello, welcome to VLGA Connect. We're coming to you this week from the RACV Club in Melbourne, the site for the VLGA's flagship professional development day, FastTrack 2025. This year's theme is Leading with Integrity. We've been honoured to have with us the Lord Mayor of the City of Melbourne, Councillor Nick Rees, and the Minister for Local Government, Nick Staikos, to open today's proceedings, leading into three fabulous panel discussions on some of the issues that are particularly of interest to councils at this point in the council cycle. Dealing with that CEO-council professional relationship. Leading with integrity. We unpack what that actually means in practice and how do you deal with the conduct issues that so many councils seem to be faced with in this current day and age.
I want to thank the VLGA for bringing together an incredible array of people across the local government sector, from mayors to councillors to CEOs to senior officers to integrity leaders as well, from IBAC, from the Ombudsman, etc. We are indeed all in this together. We have a mission that we are on to serve our municipalities to the best of our ability, and we all have a role to play in that. And so coming together as an incredible group like we are today to share our perspectives, to learn from each other, means ultimately we will serve our communities better, and that's what it's all about. We're very fortunate to have Nick Staikos as the local government minister. He's someone who really understands local government, who believes in local government. And I think having him at this conference today, again, sharing his perspective and hearing from all of us will make for a better day. There are a lot of governing frameworks in local government, accountability, rules, as there should be, as there needs to be. But at the end of the day, it's important for councillors to have a North Star, and that is to always ask yourself, what is the right thing to do? There's plenty of politics in local government, plenty of politics as a local councillor, and there will be other forces and dynamics that buffet you from time to time. How do I get my big idea up? How do I get a headline? How do I play things in such a way that I might be the next mayor? But at the end of the day, it truly is an honour and a privilege to be a councillor. You are there to serve your community. And so therefore, you must always ask yourself as the first and last question before you make a decision, what is the right thing to do? And all of us, I believe, truly know the answer to that in our hearts. So always begin and end with that question. What is the right thing to do here? And if you do that, you can't go wrong.
The CEO-councillor relationship, particularly the CEO-mayor relationship, is absolutely critical. And it's something that has to be worked at and developed over time. You can be very lucky and have a couple of people that come together and just click. But I think mostly people come together with the same aim and direction, and then that becomes the joining point. I hope they get the message that in the councillor role, they are the employer of the CEO, as well as all of the obligations they have to the community. But I hope that people do develop an understanding of that CEO role and the push and pull elements that the CEO is in that role, as well as a clear understanding of their obligations, both under the Local Government Act, but their obligations to making that working relationship really effective. There are so many twists and turns in the legislation and in case law that's emerging and decision making that's emerging. So it's really vital that councillors from the beginning really are very clear about what their obligations are, what the limitations are, and to be developing an understanding of their role and their obligations to the CEO, to the organisation and to the community.
So I think one of the biggest challenges in councils, council law, is being able to maintain integrity in what they do is probably that we have a very different idea, I think, of what integrity might be. It means different things to different people. And I've certainly seen councillors who have engaged in a breach of the code of conduct explain to me very passionately why they actually stand by what they've done, because as far as they were concerned, it was upholding their own integrity, their own personal values. So I think it's really important to go behind the word, and actually talk about what it means and what it means for a particular council group as well, so that it can actually put it into practice rather than just have those overarching ambitious statements. So yeah, it can be really difficult to manage these kind of issues in a way that doesn't completely derail and undermine the effective functioning of a council. I think one of the things that's really important is ensuring that everyone understands the process and that you apply a consistent process as well, so that there's no surprises throughout that they understand that what's going to be required of them. Another really important thing is that they feel heard, and that's key. I mean, there's so much evidence which shows that how important it is to have that procedural fairness, is essentially what it is, in order for someone to actually respect a decision that's made, particularly from a disciplinary perspective. So you need to build that into the process. Don't just assume that it's going to, the formal mechanisms will actually provide that procedural fairness, will provide that feeling of being heard. Mayors, CEOs, they all need to know how to actually build that fairness in, so that councillors feel that they're being heard as part of that process. So some practical steps that councils can take in terms of really embedding that culture of transparency and accountability is ensuring that you've got an environment when people feel they can speak up. A speak up culture has been shown to be absolutely crucial if you want to have high transparency and high accountability. In order for that to happen in a council group, they need to have trust. They need to feel safe. They need to feel secure in their environment. There need to be clear mechanisms by which they do speak up. And if you want it to be done in a way that doesn't completely derail the functional working relationships, it needs to happen early and it needs to happen informally as well. And in order to do that, you need to have really strong working relationships built on trust. So the really key learning that I'd love councillors to take away from today, I think, would be the importance on working on those working relationships with their councils. And it's got to be a constant thing. It's not something you can have one coffee with your fellow councillor once a year and say you've ticked that box. It's a constant thing where you're learning about them, you're building that trust, you're understanding where they're coming from, and you're helping them understand where you're coming from. And that is so crucial in actually setting up those relationships for success.
What I'm looking for with councils when we're doing our work, there's obviously the day-to-day work when we're resolving complaints or dealing with investigations and things like that. And I'd have to say, for the most part, at an operational level, particularly in dealing with complaints, the relationships are really strong. People from the Ombudsman's office are on the phone all day, every day to people in council offices trying to get complaints resolved. So I think that's really good. I think some of the things that we're looking for, we want to know what's going on in your context. So if you've got a program or something coming up that you know might be contentious or might be the sort of thing that drives complaints to our office, it's really good if you can tell us beforehand, because then we understand the context. It helps us to explain it to anyone that comes to our office. It means that it probably reduces some of the frictional costs in terms of when we have to call councils, because we actually know what's going on ahead of time. So what I'm looking for a heads up. That's how it would be great to work with councils. In terms of the operational work, so handling complaints and investigations, the legislation is probably the starting point in terms of frameworks, and it might not seem that clear to people outside these agencies, but it's relatively clear for us. The other couple of things, though, that we do to ensure that when people come to us, it's as seamless as possible. We do take a no wrong door approach. So if you come to one of us, we'll get you to where you need to go. And I think that's really important to know. So if you ring us, we're going to explain to you where you need to go. I think the other thing that we're also doing really well is we all sit on a prevention, education and advisory committee, LGI, IBAC, the Ombudsman's office, and we all work together in terms of the prevention offerings that we're giving, how we can coordinate those better, how we can make sure that we're getting messages out as loudly as possible. And what I want from local government, I have a T-shirt that says, "I love complaints." And I really want local government to engage with complaints. I really want them to look at it as free feedback. I really want them to take it on board and work out what of their systems, policies and practices might need to change and might need to respond to what are community concerns that are coming out of things. And I think that is a foundation piece in terms of how the organisation operates in terms of quality assurance, continuous improvement and all of those sorts of things. So realistically, in order to build great culture, I want people to love their complaints.
Well, that's a wrap for FastTrack 2025 on the topic of leading with integrity. If you'd like to know more about the FastTrack program and how it can help your council, it will be back in 2026. Get in touch with the team at the VLGA to find out more. And we'll be back soon with more from VLGA Connect.